what we're doing this morning. Look at it, they got a cool sign for us. Woo! What's up, guys? What's up? What's up? What's up? It's Alpharetta, Georgia, baby. You know, if you're going to show up to Georgia, you better bring the entire team. It was an incredible debate last night about liberty and freedom versus human decay, decay on the streets between Gavin Newsom and the governor from the free state of Florida, Ron DeSantis, and it was right here in Alpharetta, Georgia. So we decided that we were going to have some breakfast with our friends this morning to see what they thought about it. I can't wait to talk to them all. A lot of interesting opinion already before the show even started, guys. I'm going to send it back to y'all in New York.
Well, don't go anywhere, Lawrence. We need to speak to you. First off, how much power do you have? This guy decides on the fly, I'm staying, and I'm going to just pick a diner. I make the whole crew stay it out. You brought an extra outfit with you, so this must have been pre-planned.
Yeah, Lawrence.
And then you have a packed house.
Lawrence was at a diner yesterday in the area, and now he's in Alpharetta, which is where the great state debate took place last night. It was an hour and a half, then there was a half hour of analysis. It was phenomenal. It was great to watch. And I loved what Ari Fleischer said after the debate. He said, Dems are from Mars, Republicans are from Venus.
Yeah, but it was good to see because Republicans usually debating Republicans. There's no Democratic debates. You saw some dramatics. The question was, I think that when one didn't want to answer the question, they would just change the subject. And then when the other one did want to answer the question, we were just dying for an answer. For example, if you are Gavin Newsom, how could you possibly defend your border? If you were Gavin Newsom, how could you possibly defend your policy in San Francisco and the homeless situation in California? And one thing he would just go out to do to make Governor Ron DeSantis look mean and narrow-minded.
And what Lawrence was talking about, the defecation, Ron DeSantis held up a picture of feces, a map of feces in California because he says that they plot it. Lawrence, should we show some highlights?
Yeah, let's show some of it.
Hit play.
So I was talking to a fella who had made the move from California to Florida, and he was telling me that Florida is much better governed, safer, better budget, lower taxes, all this stuff. And he was really happy with the quality of life. And then he paused and he said, oh, by the way, I'm Gavin Newsom's father-in-law. So we do count Gavin's in-laws as some of the people that have fled California.
I can handle it. I'm used to bullying. You're nothing but a bully.
You're a bully.
I understand that. Intimidating and humiliating people.
You know, California does have freedoms that some people don't, that other states don't. You have the freedom to defecate in public in California. You have the freedom to pitch a tent on Sunset Boulevard. You have the freedom to create a homeless encampment under a freeway and even light it on fire.
There's one thing in closing that we have in common is neither of us will be the nominee for our party in 2024.
We have to get real here. We have to understand that Biden is not a job. He has no business running for president. And, you know, Gavin Newsom agrees with that. He won't say that. But that's why he's running his shadow campaign.
Well, I will take Joe Biden at 100 versus Ron DeSantis any day of the week at any age.
So it's interesting because, I mean, Sean did a terrific job last night. And one thing that he did different than some of the other debates is he had these charts through the entire program of what was happening in Florida and what was happening in California. And Ron DeSantis really painted this picture of, look, these are the facts here. This is what I've been able to do as governor. But Newsom, everything that DeSantis did, he tried to attack him as a bad human, which was interesting because at the end of the day, I'm not sure average day people care about the personal attacks, but it looks like Newsom wanted to just say, you're a bad guy, he can't be elected. And I thought that was interesting, Ainsley.
You know what? I was watching with some friends that are visiting for the Christmas holiday here in New York, and one is from Florida. And when DeSantis said Disney was open during COVID, you had Disney closed for a year, Newsom, in your state. Your kids were in private schools. You were owned by the unions. you're the first governor to lose population. You ran out of U-Hauls. You went to French Laundry. And then Gavin said, well, you closed beaches. And she said, that's not true. We were at the beach down in Florida during COVID, and I was so grateful that Disney was open because I was able to take my kids.
I'm thinking we were live on the air when we talked. We showing shots of people going to the beach in Florida. I asked the 45th president what he thought about the debate going in. He said, I hope they have a great evening and wish them well for 2028.
That's what Trump
That's what he said. So he watched last night, and he came out and he said, I guess because Ron DeSantis was drinking water, Ron DeSanctimonious is acting more like a thirsty, third-rate OnlyFans wannabe model than an actual presidential candidate. I actually think he looked like a presidential candidate. They look young. They looked engaged. I thought one thing Ari Fleischer brought up that's easily correctable. The governor of Florida should have looked the governor of California in the face.
eye, yeah.
Because Gavin Newsom had no problem looking at him, but Ron DeSantis
But look, he's looking at him,
yeah, very rarely when he made his points. And I would have loved to see, let these guys finish, and then just jot down and just pick up where you left off. You said more people over the last 2 years have left Florida for California than the previous 5 or whatever it is. Well, is that yes or no? Is that true or not? Because the stats say something totally different.
And we talked a lot. We've talked a lot over the last years about the borders. And DeSantis said there's fentanyl, open borders. Americans are continuing to suffer. There will be a terrorist attack, he said, and it will be traced back to the open borders. And then he said, Gavin, you are lying. You're slick. You're a slippery politician. And then he looked at the American people and said, he's lying to you.
So one thing I thought was important to bring up, and I wish Ron DeSantis didn't talk over him. Gavin Newsom is all for high school kids being able to come to California for sex change operations or whatever type of medications used to go about that process without telling your parents. He said, have a heart. I go, great. You're actually backing up that view? Let me decide then. So instead of denying that it's happening, like you say, the books are not in schools. So Ron DeSantis says, here's these books. They're totally inappropriate. They're in grade schools. He says they're not. Well, what are we doing as audience? We're wondering, well, what's true about that? But in that case, he admitted it.
That was an issue, and the other issue that is attractive to Democrats is abortion. And Gavin said DeSantis is the most extreme on abortion. He said 6 weeks. Some women don't even know they're pregnant at that time. And he said even Trump said your policies were extreme. He said, I trust the mother and the doctor to make the decision. But then Sean pushed back and said, should you be able to have an abortion at 7 or 8 months? And Gavin said it would have to be an extreme situation, an extreme exception.
But he wouldn't just say, I agree on 15 weeks. I agree on 12 weeks.
Right.
He just kept avoiding the subject and saying 6 weeks is not the right way to go.
What was your overall feeling, Brian, about this?
My overall feeling is two talented people with very different views. It would be a very different America if one of them got elected and the other one didn't. And number two is I just feel like Gavin Newsom is an actor. I feel like he stares in the mirror and finds out, what does confident look like? What does a swagger look like? What does a smile look like? Is a knowing smile look like? I don't feel there's an authenticity there.
Right.
A lot of people disagree with me. That's just how I feel.
I think it's either you're a Democrat or you're a Republican. Which one do you side with? Because they both had strong moments last night. They're clearly very presidential. And maybe one day we will, one of them or both of them could be our president. The reason we're not bringing in Lawrence, we're having some trouble with the audio, so we would be talking to Lawrence right now.
Yeah, it's not like we have stopped talking to him because we lost interest in him.
Because we only care about our own opinions.
Right, exactly.
We have him back now. Lawrence, what were your highlights last night? What was your overall feeling?
I want to pick up where Brian left off. We're talking about the Republicans and the Democrats and the divide, and he said he didn't feel like Newsom was authentic. Think about the independent voters, though, because that is the pool of voters. The country is evenly divided, right? So we're all going after probably that 5 to 8% of voters there. And that's what scares me about Newsom. He did this thing at the end that I thought was so crafty. So after he beat Ron DeSantis up about saying how a bad human he is, he's ignoring all the good policies in Florida. He goes, you know what, Ron? We disagree about the route to take as a country, but I think you're a great family man. You had a beautiful wife, beautiful kids. I thank you for your service. And it's those moments that gravitate independent voters. It was very Obama-esque. And I think we better be prepared for him. He may not be the nominee this time, but he's going to be on the ballot eventually. And I worry about his craftiness.
Right. I do know he can complete a sentence, so that's unlike.
Did you notice at the end? Did y'all notice at the end when Sean said, y'all each say something nice about each other's states? And Ron went on and on about California and his service there. And then when Newsom had to say something, he didn't say anything positive about Florida. He just complimented his wife.
Right. Okay. That's one way to do it.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.